Hi everyone and welcome to my April wrap-up. It's exciting because we made it through the month of April. I thought it was a good month, although it was super busy for me and part of the reason why I haven't posted as many videos. I was sick 2 different weeks this month and I also went for a weekend to Seattle, so lots of things happening. In fact, I thought I had only read like 4 books, but I actually read 9. I read most of the books that I read at the beginning of the month, although I did read continuously throughout the month. So let's get into what I read. Also, a big hello to any new people out there who subscribe to my channel. Welcome, welcome. I hope you enjoy it. And let me know something about you. I am always curious to see who's out there in the booktube community, or what are you reading, that sort of thing. The first book I read this month was The Book of Blood and Shadow by Robin Wasserman, I think. And I gave this book 3.75 stars out of 5 on Goodreads. Oh, for all of these books, check out my Goodreads. I have reviews for all of them, written reviews. And if you're curious about maybe a slightly more in-depth analysis of what I thought. So for this book, there was so much going on. It was just like tons of detail, tons of historical reference. I think what threw me off was that there were these letters by a girl in the past that kind of affected the story, and they were a little hard to get into. There was just a lot of happening. They traverse through different locations, especially Prague, which was really cool. There's a huge mystery going on of what happened. One of the main character's best friend is murdered at the beginning of the story, and it's a bit of like the Da Vinci Code plus that in YA. So I gave it 3.75 just because I wasn't sold. There was just so much going on, and sometimes I felt like I was like pushing myself to read through it. Still, I thought it was quite exciting. So if you like that sort of thing, the Da Vinci Code, then I would check it out. After that, I've been trying to get stuff off my shelf that I've had there for a while, and one of them was Numbers by Rachel Ward. I picked this book up because I thought the book cover was really cool, and the plot sounded cool. Like, this girl can see when people are going to die by reading it in their eyes, but in actuality, this book wasn't quite what it advertised. I gave it 3.5 stars. It just was, I thought it was like going to be like a dystopian society or futuristic, or the whole plot around her being able to see deaths and or the number of someone's, like, how long they're going to live. And it's kind of about that, but honestly, it's more of like this girl and her relationship with this guy, and they're in London, which was cool. But she lives a really crummy life, and it was weird and not what I was expecting at all, and not what I wanted to read. So it was decent, and it was cool that it was in London. So if you like that sort of thing, check it out. But made me a little sad. After that, I read Adaptation by Malinda Lo. I think I held this book. Can't quite remember. Either way, I gave it a 4.5. I've been wanting to read this book for a while. This is also one of those books that it wasn't quite what I expected. The beginning was definitely quite what it read inside on the back, but so basically there's things are changing genetically. These birds are dying, and so it's causing planes to fall from the sky at one point, and she's trying to escape that. So the beginning was incredibly exciting. Absolutely loved the beginning. And then there's this lull in the middle that feels like I'm reading a contemporary romance story. Like, it was great because it's she's in love with this, or not in love, but she has a crush on this guy, but then she starts this relationship with this girl, and it was cool to see that dynamic. But at the same time, like, then it goes back into the action and what's going on in the story, and I just felt like it was a conflicting plot. Either way, I really enjoyed it, and I plan on reading the next book. After that, big shout out to Reagan from Proust Project, because I read Furies of Cauldron by Jim Butcher, and I really enjoyed it. It is a chunky book. I definitely read it purely from her recommendation to everyone, and it's hard for me to get into fantasy books because oftentimes they have so many different perspectives. I'm the sort of person that likes to get really invested in one, maybe two perspectives, and this had many, but it turns out it worked really well together. It kept me interested in all of what was going on. You could definitely see more of the plot that way. And I am so excited to be able to read the next book soon. Oh, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read The Anonymous Wife by Anna Lee Huber, and I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. I love Sherlock Holmes and solving mysteries and kind of that time period, and this is in a similar time period, not necessarily quite the same, but in the past. And it was so cool to see, like, they live on a manor, and this woman is having a really hard time because her husband was this guy, this anatomist, who was creating books of, like, dead people, their body parts and that sort of thing to be studied, and had her draw it, and nobody knew until he died that happened, and she was shunned for it. So now she's at her sister and brother-in-law's manor, and a murder happens, and she's asked to help solve it because of her experience with dead bodies. And it was just, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't spectacular, but it was definitely what I was hoping for. After that, I read Eve by Anna Carey. I have to say, this book was about what I was expecting. It was pretty stereotypical of dystopian. A girl escapes school that turns out it wasn't what she was expected. Society outside that school is desolate, and yet there's more than she thought out there, and the school isn't quite what she thought. Yeah, I give 4 out of 4 stars. If you enjoy dystopians, it can be a fun read, but I wouldn't say it's by any means amazing. After that, I read The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making by Catherynne M. Valenti. I gave this 4.75 out of 5. Really enjoyed this. I can see how some people kind of struggle getting into it because it has a definite point of view in its writing style. I felt like instead of a middle grade book or a children's book, it was like an adult writing a children's book for an adult. Like someone who had read children's books in their childhood and really enjoyed them. So there's this unique writing style that just is so beautiful and wonderful to read, and just makes everything, even the horrible things, feel wonderful to read about. And the adventure of what this girl goes on is just, you couldn't have quite predicted it. At the same time, you kind of know what's going to happen, and yet not really. A big twist at the end. I am looking forward to reading the next book, and just worth sitting out. Then I read Paranormalcy by Kiersten White. This was a fun read. I gave it 4.25 out of 5 stars. I liked the writing and the dialogue, but it wasn't like super surprising. I thought her abilities were really cool and kind of different. And overall, I will continue with the series, so if you haven't checked out the series, you might really enjoy it, and I did. And finally, I finished Late Eclipses by Shauna McGuire. This is like 4th or 5th in the series. I gave it 4.25 only because it took me so freaking long to finish this book. It was like 5 months in between reading it. Just sat where my computer was, but I finally finished it. It was good. There was just a part that was kind of slow and hard to read. There was a lot of bad things happening to the main character. But overall, I love this series and will continue with it just all the same. So these are all the books I read this month. Again, I am super glad for all the books I actually did read, and that I read way more than I thought I did. I'm looking forward to reading a bunch of books next month. I should be bringing up a haul within the next week. Fingers crossed. Please let me know how your month went, what you read, what you loved, what you hated. Love to hear it. And how are you doing? So anyways, have a fabulous day, and I will see you later. Bye!